I sense a soul in search of answers.
To many, Adria the Witch is simply a fool. Having aided Aiden the Warrior in his quest to fell Diablo, the Lord of Terror, only to then strive to bring about the end of days for humanity by bearing an offspring, a vessel, in which Diablo could inhabit once more.
Dear Leah, Deckard always suspected your true father was Diablo himself.
But in reality, Adria is a complete and utter genius, shown to be cunning, patient, and ruthless.
And now, my daughter, you shall serve as his vessel.
Furthermore, an argument could be made that not only is Adria a deadly adversary of the light, but also by the end of the events of Diablo 3, she is more powerful than some of the High Heaven's greatest champions, and why this former witch's evil may persist in Diablo 4.
You think me mad, old friend, but I know these dreams. They tell of the future. Hell is coming, brother. Hell is coming.
And as I pass through the first gate, I know that the better part of my soul will remain behind. Forever.
To see if you share the same conclusion, first we must delve into the witch's own history and past that is unsurprisingly riddled with power grabs, plots, and schemes, which have made this former witch an indispensable ally for the burning hells.
A chest opened in darkness holds no greater treasure than when it is opened in the light. The storyteller Cain is an enigma, but only to those who do not look. His knowledge of what lies beneath the cathedral is far greater than even he allows himself to realize.
When we first encounter Adria the Witch as the player during the events of Diablo 1, she's been a practitioner of the dark arts for many years. Her beginnings as a witch, however, lie in Westmarch, where she first met Magda, whom we encounter in Diablo 3. Together, they usurp power from the Coven, with Adria poisoning its leaders. Although they practice torture and demonic summoning, it is said that these witches were fueled by the belief that they were destined to become mortal heralds of the burning hells. And it seems they were not wrong.
I'll claim the one it's bound to. In the end, the blade shall be mine.
Thus, although having shown her cunning and ruthlessness early on, she believed the Coven had become somewhat complacent and decided her fate lay elsewhere. And when the darkening of Tristram occurred, she heard the calling of Diablo himself. After aiding the warrior Aiden and his companions in slaying Diablo, the Lord of Terror, also with the help of Deckard Cain, who could be seen as her light counterpart during the disturbing events, her goals shifted as Aiden emerged from the edges of hell, bearing the mark of Diablo, having thrust his soulstone into his own head in an attempt to contain the evil. She suspected that he had summoned her as proof against possible failure. At the very least, he had not corrupted her like he had Aiden. He then whispered to her of the end of days and pronounced her worthy to serve him in his ultimate victory. He gave Adria dreams of decay and corruption, knowing that she would see them as the natural end of humanity. She pledged herself to Diablo's service, and she would give Diablo her blood and soul, and he would give her the destiny she knew to be hers by right. She marked his soul as he caressed her, in preparation for a plan that would take over 20 years to come to fruition. Adria and Aiden spent many nights behind closed doors, and through this liaison, Adria became pregnant with Aiden/Diablo's daughter, Leah. It would take time, but it was intended that when the time was right, Leah would serve as Diablo's vessel as part of his plan to become the sole prime evil. Because of the ritual had been conducted with Adria's own blood, Diablo had a strange affinity for it, and therefore the child they had conceived. However, Adria had to find a means to contain the essences of the other great evils. It should be noted that, unlike other characters in the series, namely Marius, mortals have generally been treated as pawns for Diablo and his brother. So for Adria to be not only of note, but respected by Diablo himself is a testament to her power and aptitude, as she was an active participant and wasn't tossed aside like poor Marius.
You have done well, Marius. Now I think you shall have your reward.
I don't deserve it.
Leah, are you all right, my girl?
It was nothing, Uncle. Just a bad dream.
Before Adria quested for the Black Soulstone, she needed a guardian for Leah. Thus, she put her under the protection of one Deckard Cain, last of the Horodrim. Now, if this isn't bitter irony or a stroke of genius, I don't know what is. The Brotherhood of the Horodrim, at times referred to as the Order and Crusaders of Light, were an ancient brotherhood of mages and wizards that had been formed by the Archangel Tyrael to combat the three prime evils. Basically, Deckard Cain, a scholar and the last of the Horodrim, was somewhat foolishly raising, caring for, and fostering the power of one of the prime evils to be, going against the very tenets his order was sworn to uphold. If anything, if he killed poor Leah where she stood, it would have saved countless lives, as he did suspect she was a vessel of Diablo. However, as the demon son of Mephisto, Lucian would once muse, humans are far too sentimental. Not Adria, though, as she saw Leah as little more than a vessel and would state that daughters were a cheap thing.
Leah, my daughter.
You know who I am?
My darling, I've watched over you all your life, but I never dared get close because of the danger that always shadows me. We've done it! Quickly now, Leah! Trap Azmodan's essence within the Soulstone!
It's done!
I never dared dream. All evil lies trapped within that stone. Once it is destroyed, the eternal conflict will finally end.
Destroying the stone is no simple matter. There are rituals to consider. We must return to the keep and make our final preparations.
At some point, Adria learnt of Zoltan Kuhl and his creation of the Black Soulstone. She realized that this was the means through which Diablo's vision of becoming a singular prime evil could be realized by marking the souls of the great evils for absorption into the stone. She wrote of the event in the Book of Adria, saying, "I've been dreaming of the Soulstone every night, not as it is, but as it will be, trembling with the spirits of the prime and lesser evils who scream from their prison. They shake with rage when they realize what Diablo is planning, but it is too late, far too late. Before they can act, the spirits are channeled into the vessel. My master consumes them all, becomes them all. Mortal flesh burns away to reveal his greatest form, the prime evil. I can make this dream a reality, with cool spells to mark the souls of the evils and the Black Soulstone to contain them. I can bring this vision to life." This is no small feat for a mortal. To gather and contain all 7 of the lesser and greater evils should be, by all accounts, beyond any mere mortal's abilities. Although aided by Diablo, Adria largely went on to do this single-handedly. And as you could imagine, the greater evils, treacherous as they were, even without a body, were deadly and tried to dispatch her. Having survived these rituals, and now possessing a vessel in which to hold the evil's inhuman form of Leah, and now the Black Soulstone, she had only one more act to initiate: to make Diablo anew.
Dear Leah, Deckard always suspected Your true father was Diablo himself. And now, my daughter, you shall serve as his vessel.
I live. But I am more than I once was. The 7 evils are now one within me. I am the prime evil. Well done, faithful Adria. Go now, until I call upon you again.
20 years ago, a great and terrible power drew me to Tristram. But Aiden, Leoric's eldest son, defeated that power and sought to contain it within his own flesh.
The Dark Wanderer.
It was Diablo I saw within him, and I pledged myself to his service. Now, at last, his grand design comes to fruition.
It should be noted that while we have seen Diablo and others best Tyrael, the Archangel of Justice, even in his mortal form, he is still a powerful being of light. For Adria to best him in combat, surprise or no, shows how her arcane prowess is beyond most. However, as we know, even the power of the Prime Evil was not enough to best the Nephilim. Diablo fell, and so did the Black Soulstone, which by the events of Reaper of Souls was placed under the care of the Horodrim in Sanctuary and lost to Malthael, and Adria sought to reclaim it herself. Speaking of the Horodrim, none of which seem to be directly blessed by the high heavens. In fact, the inhabitants of Sanctuary, whether human or Nephilim, are openly admonished by Imperius and generally seen as lesser by angels, or at least abominations. Although demons may think the same of humans, if a human has similar goals to them, they will often work in unison with demons for great reward, a fact that Adria is acutely aware of. Morality aside, while Deckard Cain was destined to die no matter what he sacrificed for the light that scoffed at his very existence. Ironically, he died remaking Tyrael's own sword. Humanity's one champion, the former angel himself Tyrael, was now also fated to die for his sacrifice.
You have done well, Horodrim. Your service here is finished, and you should all run.
Adria the Witch instead became something more. During the events of Reaper of Souls, she morphed into a horrific blood demon.
Adria.
The angels will never suffer us to live. They cannot accept the fact that we may choose our own path. At least demons are not so rigid in their beliefs.
Whether this was aided somehow by Diablo's power or a boon she created for herself, it would take an immense amount of power to achieve. Unlike angels, who when they pass are reborn as a new angel, demons came back after reforming in the abyss. As we've seen previously, the angel Izual, who was captured by the burning hells and betrayed the high heavens to them, has repeatedly been faced and defeated by Sanctuary's heroes, yet returns reborn from the abyss.
It seems we've both fallen from grace, Tyrael. Come, embrace your former lieutenant.
Which means it is very likely, although Adria had been defeated by the end of Reaper of Souls, that she curried enough favor with Diablo that she may now be effectively immortal. Granted, in a demonic shell, but realistically, she had not actually failed Diablo yet. In fact, it was his own blunder against the Nephilim that he was destroyed, so she would still be held in high esteem, which begs the question, is it better to rule in hell than serve in heaven? Especially when the inhabitants seem to despise humanity, save a few, the mortal Tyrael and being mortal, his sway may not last by the events of Diablo 4. It's being confirmed by the events of Diablo 4 that Heaven's gates are closed to humanity, which means they are probably removed from the plights of man even more so. Yet Adria's powers may be called upon again by the Lord of Terror himself during his return to Sanctuary.
My blood sings to me. The Wanderer. Yes, it was the Wanderer.
So to recap, while many, including Marius, were used in a disposable manner by Diablo and his brethren, Adria instead is held to a high regard by the Lord of Terror himself and has become sort of his right hand in Sanctuary, and perhaps will be held in high regard in Hell in the afterlife. Adria was strong enough to best Tyrael in combat, among others, compared to her counterpart Deckard Cain, who holds little to no martial prowess, yet instead wisdom. She's not only knowledgeable, but is also formidable in the dark arts and used Cain himself as a stepping stone to greater power multiple times. Most notably, Adria ascended to the level of demon herself and was unquestionably on the same playing field as the angels and demons alike, something no mere mortal in recorded history to my knowledge has ever achieved, becoming an immortal demon by the events of Reaper of Souls and the right hand of Diablo.
There's no one left to stand against them.
But what do you think? Did Adria pick well, knowing hell always returns? It isn't then far-fetched to think a certain blood demon may make an appearance in Sanctuary once more, aiding the Lord of Terror in Diablo 4. Is Adria to be revered for her cunning, albeit for the quote-unquote wrong side of the fight? Or is it just lazy writing, as she is notably one of the most heavily retconned characters in Diablo lore by its third installment, turning a seemingly 60-year-old crone / one-time supporting character and witch in Diablo 1 into a youthful, deadly one-man army puppet master in Diablo 3. Let me know in the comments below. Also, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you want to stay up to date with the videos, as it really helps out the channel. Also, we have a Discord for fellow RPG lovers, linked in the description, and all are welcome. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, Traveler.